Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on the South Sudanese Women Intellectuals Forum. We welcome you to our show today. My name is Dr. Anne Lomole, and I am a pediatrician and an infectious disease consultant, and I'm the moderator for this session. And we are joined today by South Sudanese female doctors from various fields of medicine who are based in various countries around the world and in South Sudan. They will be speaking on various challenges that they have faced on their personal journeys in this profession and how they overcame these challenges. They will also be able to give us a few recommendations on what can be done to encourage and facilitate, especially women in science, technology, and medicine. And we believe that those who have walked the path before would be the right people and the best people to make a difference for those who will come after. And we're going to see how this can be done in the session as we continue. I would like to thank each and every one of our panelists for joining us today for this discussion and for taking the time to share their knowledge and their experience on this platform. And I'd also like to thank our audience who have supported us and have joined us for various discussions previously. Thank you for joining us today. Please feel free to share this discussion on your various platforms. We're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and you are free to ask any questions and we'll try and answer as many as we can. And for those that we're not able to answer, then our panelists will graciously, who have graciously accepted to join us today, will be able to answer any questions directed either to them or to all of us in general. So we would like to thank everyone who has been able to support this forum to this time and everyone who has contributed even by sharing their experiences and their knowledge. So I'll go straight into introducing our panelists today. Many of the faces here you have seen before, and I'll just do a short introduction and thereafter we'll go straight into the questions. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Jane Abucha, who is a professor of nursing and a clinical and classroom instructor for the Carrington College of Nursing Associate Degree Program. She earned a degree in 1988 as a nurse practitioner, and prior to moving to the US, a degree in medicine. In the US, since her 2 degrees were not recognized, she had to go back to school and later earned a bachelor's degree in nursing science and a master's degree of science in nursing with a specialty in acute care, and as a nurse practitioner from the Grand Canyon University. She currently holds a doctorate of nursing practice and recently graduated as a medical doctor and is currently studying for her board exam. So this spans so many years of experience, and this is someone who's gone through all the parts of the medical profession, basically, maybe except pharmacy. So thank you, Dr. Jane, for joining us today. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Linda Fandasi. Dr. Linda Fandasi holds a bachelor's degree in medicine and surgery from the University of Juba. She is the founder and owner of Safe Care Medical Center in Juba, where they offer general and specialized services, inpatient and also outpatient care, with dedicated and qualified personnel having vast experience and expertise in the field of medicine. Dr. Linda believes that patient care should be a doctor's first priority, and she has built her career with this as her driving force. She is also the founder and executive director of Gracious Givers Women Association for Women and Girls Empowerment, and a partner and managing director of the Silver Enterprise Company. Welcome, Dr. Linda, and thank you for joining us from Juba. I think that's where you are, but you will tell us. Then I'd like to welcome Dr. Idioro Ojuko, who is a practicing obstetrician and gynecologist at the Mater Hospital in Nairobi. She did her bachelor degree of medicine and surgery in the University of Juba and her master of medicine in obstetrics and gynecology in the University of Nairobi. She is a fellow of the Eastern, Central, and Southern African Obstetrician and Gynecologist Society and a member of the Kenyan Obstetrical and Gynecological Society. She's also a member of the South Sudan Association of Gynecologists and Obstetricians. She is the first gynecological oncologist in South Sudan, and she's currently pursuing a diploma in epidemiology and biostatistics. She is evidence that education doesn't end, and I think she'll tell us more about that. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Boucher Othom, who is a trained pharmacist with over 13 years of experience in both public health and private sector management. She has a Bachelor of Pharmacy from the University of Khartoum and a Master of Science in Biotechnology, Innovation, and Regulatory Science from Purdue University in the USA. She worked in the South Sudan Ministry of Health between 2007 and 2015, where she held various positions, including Acting Director of Policy and Pharmacy Practice, Acting Director of Procurement and Supplies, and Regional Medicines Use. She has been involved in consultancies with various international organizations, including the Global Fund and PSI, and has worked as a medical logistician with MedAir in South Sudan and as a technical advisor to the Office of the Undersecretary in the Ministry of Health, National Ministry of Health, supported by the World Bank through the WHO. She's also a trainer for some pharmaceutical supply chain management, regional medicine use, and family planning, commodities security, and has been involved in capacity building in various organizations. She has extensive experience in technical, advisory, and program management, and she currently works at the USAID South Sudan as a supply chain advisor. Welcome, Dr. Bushai. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Ajak Hussein, who is a passionate dentist and dental aesthetics professional. She graduated from the University of Khartoum in 2013 and did her housemanship in Khartoum Hospital, Ribat Police Hospital in 2014. She also trained in dental orthodontics in Nairobi in 2018 and is trained in aesthetic dentistry, including smile design, Botox, and fillers. And she did a dental implant fellowship in Cairo Implant Academy and is passionate about presenting beauty in dentistry, which is very interesting. I think she'll tell us more about that later. She's worked in various private practice in Khartoum, in Renk, also in public practice in Wow Hospital, and she is currently the founder of the Pyramid Dental Clinic in Nairobi, Kenya, where she works, and is a member of the international team of implantology and the Global Implant Dental Academy, and also the Kenyan Dental Association. So welcome, Dr. Ajak. You're going to tell us how to make our smiles better probably later on. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to join us on this particular discussion. And I think the audience is very excited to hear from you about your personal journeys. So I will go straight to the questions, and I will start with Dr. Idioro. Dr. Idioro, your career has spanned various countries, number one, and up to now, you're still actually continuing with your education. Maybe you'll explain to us why that is. And why specifically you've gone into other things that would be considered unrelated to obstetrics and gynecology. So in a few sentences, please tell us about your journey to this point and tell us a little bit about your work and what motivates you to continue doing the work that you do. Dr. Idioro.
Okay, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Anne, for hosting me. Dr. Dioro, in just a few words, I started my primary education in Juba. That was in St. Joseph Primary School. I went to Khartoum for secondary school, which I did in St. Augustine High School. Then from there, I proceeded to University of Cuba, where I did my undergraduate. Then to Nairobi, University of Nairobi, I did my master's degree. Then after working for like almost 10 years as an obstetrician gynecologist, I decided, no, now this obstetrics is a headache. Going at night, women delivering, getting all the complications, it was a bit of stress. So I said I needed something which is less emergency. So I went back and did my fellowship in oncology. Why I went to oncology actually is just because I feel like I should help people and I should help women, because I found that cancer was actually not well taken care of. So I decided to go to oncology. And when somebody asked me, you said obstetric is tough and you're going to oncology. Is oncology better? I told him I'm going to look onto where I will prevent. So where I will prevent more than treating. So that is what actually encouraged me, and I went to do oncology. First, because I wanted something which is a bit relaxing, not getting emergency calls at night. And secondly, actually something where I can prevent, not like obstetrics. Of course, we need people to multiply. We need many people to replace. So, but currently now I decided to go also and do uh, my diploma in epidemiology and biostatistics. And this came as, okay, where you want to sit, whether you are an obstetrician in hospital, you need policy. So how can I put policies in place if I want everything to go well? So I need that epidemiology actually. And that is the reason why I went to the epidemiology, not because of leaving my clinical practice, but actually to bring all things together. Yeah, but currently I'm working in Mata. And what motivates me to do my work is because I love my work. I have passion in whatever I do. So I love obstetrics. I love oncology. So yes, I think I have passion in it. And that is what motivates me, because today you get a bad outcome during delivery, but tomorrow you pick up and you come back to work and you say, no, this one is not the end. I have to go back. Yeah. Thank you, Anne, for now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Idira. I like the way you've explained that as doctors, we shouldn't focus so much on the clinical and forget that the world works on certain systems that include policy making that will make our work easier and the work of our colleagues easier and enable us to be able to sort out our patients. And I think that's an important point to take home. When you talk about emergencies, that really hits home, and I'm sure many of us are going to say that as one reason where medicine becomes a really stressful thing is you have to deal with emergencies most of the time. And obstetrics is one of the careers that actually has a lot of that. And I understand where you're coming from. And we'll expand that a little bit more on that when we talk about the challenges that you have faced in your working life. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Iduro. So next we'll go to Dr. Linda. Dr. Linda, tell us a little about your journey in the profession. You took also a very interesting path because you went into entrepreneurship, you went into women empowerment, which is very interesting for medical doctors. Tell us a bit about that and tell us about your work and what motivates you in the specific fields that you decided to concentrate on. Dr. Linda.
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening, good morning to all people there. And it's my pleasure to be part of this panel. I'm a medical doctor and I have been in this industry for 10 years. It is not an easy professional actually to be as a doctor and work every day. You have to dedicate your life, your time for saving people. The most common reason that makes me to continue in this industry is ambition to help people learning new things and coming up with creative ideas to improve the way of treatment and management of the patient. And being as part of women empowerment, women we are the backbone of any family. And as we are a new country, we need to work hard as a women to bring a good future for our children and for our family. So that we have to come up, we have to go to school, we have to study, we have to work, we have to bring food even in the table, especially in this hard economic situation. We have to work together with our husbands, with our brothers, so that we can provide a good life for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Linda. From what I understood, from what I could hear, is that the women these days in this particular modern world, we have to think about also the provision aspect, in the sense that we have to give our children and our families a different life, and sometimes we have to expand our horizons beyond just a particular straight professional line, and think about things like thinking out of the box, so that we're able to expand the opportunities for the people who depend on us. And I think that that's a very interesting way to look at it. Thank you so much for that. So I'll go ahead and ask Dr. Jane. Dr. Jane, you have also had a very interesting journey, from starting out in Africa, getting you training, and then going to the US and finding that was not accepted there, and then you had to get into the system again and redo it again, and then to the extent that you even went into now becoming a doctor from a nursing professor. I mean, that's a really interesting journey. Tell us about that. I think it would be a journey that would be very discouraging for many people. I think it's important for you to actually tell us why this path, what motivated you, and tell us a little bit about your work.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Yes. Oh my God. I woke up late.
Okay, let's give Dr. Jane a bit of a break there. I think she has some visitors. Oh, she's back. Okay.
I'm sorry.
That happens a lot. Go ahead.
So, good afternoon, good evening, good morning to everybody. I'm proud of all of you, and as a woman, I cannot see anything better than supporting women and seeing women being empowered all over the world. And my journey has been long, but it has been short for me. I do not say that it is long. People have said that it is long. I don't. Because for me, a dream is a dream. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. Somebody from India quoted one of Mahatma Gandhi's quotes and said, people actually die and live their dreams out here because they don't pursue them. They lack persistence and motivation. But dreams never die, actually. So growing up, I watched my aunt, Sister Celestina, a Catholic Sacred Heart sister, take care of women, come in the neighborhood and give injections to babies, and clean wounds and do all that stuff. And I watched her in Qatar at the clinic. In Qatar, she ran the clinic at the Qatar Mairo next to the church. She ran that clinic, and I watched her. I would go there and assemble chairs and help her as a young girl. I picked out interest, but I didn't know how I would get in. During the war, after we were dispersed from Torit, we ran to Juba. Life was hard. We went to the village. Life was hard, and another war scattered us from the village. We came to Juba. I was 16. I decided to join nursing. So in the morning, I would go to nursing school, Juba Teaching Hospital. In the evening, I would go to lower day secondary school at Juba Commercial. But when I went and started, they said we were too young, so we had to abolish our birth certificates and go get another one at the medical commission to state that we were 18. So we got in. We were 3 girls. We were able to get in and pursue our nursing. We were young, but we wanted to do it. One is that it was a passion. The second is that we needed the money. It was 67 pounds. That was our salary every month, 67 pounds. So that is how I started nursing. And when I got into it, I found out that I could do more. And I wanted to do more. So I did the diploma in medicine in Khartoum at Omdurman Teaching Hospital. I went to Omdurman at TB and did all my clinicals in Omdurman Teaching Hospital. I came out, I worked at MSF for a little bit, and I went to ACF, where I took care of a clinic in the first clinic I opened in Hajusif, Takamul. I did a lot of outpatient, and I did also a lot of deliveries and things like that. Well, life's journeys were all beautiful. I made it to Egypt, where I took up an antenatal clinic and at Zamalek for all the 4 years I was there, and did deliveries at St. Teresa Hospital. I also had one day outpatient that I did ophthalmic eye surgeries with Dr. Ismail Hasuna, which was a very nice journey because he had a clinic in Germany, in Arizona, in Egypt. That is how I made it to Arizona. So when I got to Arizona, I liked it. I came here to do surgeries and I liked it. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to Arizona. So I made it to Arizona. Here I found out quickly that there is a process to everything. So my documents had to be evaluated by the World Education Services, and everything was reduced to associate degree, and I had to take an exam and everything else. The process took me 3 years to get my documents from Sudan to here. And the Kidman Nizamiya documents were very important to get those documents. So I had the ID here. I had to send it back. I never made a copy because I was an idiot. Anyway, I sent it back. I was able to get my nursing diploma and my diploma in medicine. So I was allowed to take my NCLEX exam for my RN here. But at that time, I had already gone back to school because the money to pay for those process fees was $3,000. It took me 3 years to be able to accumulate and find $3,000 because I did not have it. In a whole year, I was able to save $1,000. So it took me 3 years to be able to save $3,000. And my husband was not into saving any money to do that because he wasn't interested in doing that. So I decided I would go back to school while working as a nurse and get my MD. I went and took my MCAT, got in an MD school. It was so demanding. It takes 6 days a week to be in school on campus. And I was the sole breadwinner for my kids and my husband. So I said, this is not for me. I'm out of here. I'm going to do master's in nursing, which is only 3 days a week. So I worked 4 days, 12 hours, and 3 days I did my nurse practitioner. So I was the first batch of acute care nurse practitioners in Arizona. So I was kind of very proud of that. We did that. And I went to the hospital to work as a hospitalist. It was all good. And I got burnt out. With all the process of going to school, working hard and everything, I got burnt out. I said, okay, I'm getting my doctorate and I'm going to teach. So I got my doctorate. I went out to teach the Chamberlain College of Nursing under DeVry University. There was a bachelor's program and associate degree program. So I taught in both of it. I taught fundamentals for nursing and pharmacology. But the problem was they're paying me less than what I got in clinicals. I was making about 116 in clinicals, and in teaching, I was getting about 85,000 a year, and that was like more than 45,000 pay cut. So it didn't sit well with me. I had to get out like quick. But I continued to teach as part-time, but I got out as full-time quickly. During COVID, as I continued to work, I saw a lot of gaps, and those gaps motivated me to go back to school. One was that I was burned out of the hospital, as a lot of us were burned out of the hospital. We went to private practices, and I own my private clinic. I run my private clinic. But we were not there in the emergency department to make decisions for our own people. And if you had on the news, there was a lot of people of color, and especially Blacks, dying because the emergency room was full and they were sent back home, and a lot of them died home. That gave me a point of decision that I need to get back into medicine and go back into the emergency department so that I can be there to also make decisions for our own people. So that was what motivated to get me back to school. The second motivator is that primary care has too much documentation, too much way documentation. Even if after you see the patients, you have to go through their labs, you have to go through their x-rays, their results are coming back, and everything else, the referrals needed, specialty notes and everything is too much. And looking around, I wanted to go and do another specialty. I looked into my community and see the last few years what was killing most of our girls and boys and women here in the US was hepatitis. These people came here with hepatitis from the refugee camps, from different places. Nobody has addressed them. And we are finding later down in the road that they are dying from hepatitis that could have been cured, hepatitis that they got of not of their own fault. Some of them had no idea even they had it. So I chose to go back to school to do specialty in GI and liver so that I can look into those areas and while I can continue to teach as part-time. So what motivates me every day is seeing that I produce more of the people that can do the work that I can not do. Because if I do anything by myself, it's only one of me. But if I train a lot of people, they can do more than what I can do by 10, 20, and 30 times. And that would make our living better and stronger, and especially women, because they take the income home to raise kids, and that makes the families stronger. And I also want a family time because when my kids were growing up, I was being burned out as a hospitalist. I did not attend my daughter's high school graduation concert, and up to today, she's still upset that mommy missed her concert. So so I need a family life. So when I go to a specialty, I will be able to do everything but have a family life. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Jane. I think a lot of points there. Seeing so many gaps and deciding I'm going to do something about this because of this gap so that I can contribute in a certain way. And the mindset of a teacher of one person can do, well, we can do much, but you can only be able to propagate your knowledge and your skill by teaching others. I think that's amazing. And the whole concept of family life and work-life balance is something that has really plagued doctors a lot, because that is something that we think about every day. And sometimes our career choices do not allow us to actually be able to be flexible enough to have that work-life balance and be there for our families. And I think probably that's one of the greatest challenges, but I think we can expound that in our next few questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Jane. That's so amazing. Your story is quite inspiring, and I'm sure our audience is also quite inspired by what they've had. Now, Dr. Boucher, you're the only pharmacist on the panel, and I think most of us, we probably don't understand the journey that pharmacists go through, and have this very narrowed idea that pharmacists are supposed to be stuck in some hospital somewhere dishing out medication. But you actually got into the supply part of pharmacy. You got into, I think, policy. You got into procurement. You got into training. Tell us a bit about your journey, and tell us about your work, what you do, and what motivates you. Dr. Bushai.
I have actually a hiccup in the network, so I wasn't able actually to hear part of your question. So if you can just repeat it again, sorry.
So what I was saying is that as the only a pharmacist on this panel, it would be interesting to hear about your journey and your work and what motivates you. And from your bio, we can see that you were not limited by your pharmacy training only. You went into supplies, you went into procurement. I think you even went into policy, and you were able to transcend and even go into training people and capacity building. So tell us a little bit about that.
did not hear anything.
Dr. Bushai, did you hear what I asked you? Sorry, I think we're having an issue with the internet there.
Sorry, it seems I have an issue with the internet, so I opted let me put off the video for some
Okay,
time. Maybe at least
go
it will
ahead. Yeah,
improve
we can even hear you
the
clearly
network.
now.
So,
Yes. So you'll just put it
yeah, this
on.
is. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Boucher. Go ahead.
She muted herself.
Oh, Dr. Boucher, I think you're muted. We can hear what you're saying. Okay, okay, we'll give Dr. Boucher a break there. I think she's in Juba. Juba sometimes brings a few issues with the internet. So we'll just go to Dr. Ajak. Dr. Boucher, we'll come back to you if you can sort out the connection there. Dr. Ajak, you are also different from the rest of us in the sense that you are also the only dentist in this panel, and you are a dentist who also went into entrepreneurship and you focused on aesthetics, which is a very interesting field to go into. Tell us a little bit about your journey up to now and your work and what motivates you, Dr. Ajak.
Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm really blessed to be among you here. And then talking about how I started my journey. Things actually starts when a person is very young. So my passion about aesthetics and symmetry and golden proportions, it started when I was quite young. And then having that as a passion, I couldn't know exactly where to direct myself in life. So I wanted to help people, yes, but I wanted something to do with the aesthetics as well. Then I remember asking my dad, like, all the beautiful things are mostly born out of hardship. Then I told him, I don't really mark anything in my life as a big hardship that can get me into something remarkable. Then he told me, not everything is born out of hardship. Things can be born out of passion. So I took it and then I worked with this and then it got me into dentistry. And I remember everybody telling me like, why are you getting yourself into dentistry? You can actually get into any medical school, you're qualified. What are you doing in the dental school? Maybe you can transfer, maybe you can sit home for a year and think about it and join the medical school. And then I was like, no, I made my mind. This is what I want. I'll be able to enjoy aesthetics and I'll be able to help people at the same time. And then I went into it. It wasn't easy. It was long. It was hard. It's not as it always seems when people talk about dentistry. They think it's just a simple thing, 3, 4 years, and that's it. It took me more than that. It took me the 5 years for the undergraduate, and then a year of training, and then another year on top of it. So that's a whole life. If I had a child by starting school, it would have been 7 years old while I'm graduating. But because I loved what I wanted, I stick to it. And then when I finished, we ended up like having the referendum and then having South Sudan as a different country from the northern part. And then South Sudan wasn't equipped with anything. So we didn't have like the proper hospital, the proper training centers, the proper like people who can look up to. Because everybody was out of South Sudan. Then I thought about it, like all of this work, it may go into a big loss. Then I decided to sit in Northern Sudan and then learn what I can learn, and then move to South Sudan and do what I can do with it. It took me like a year or so, just going around in South Sudan in various counties and hospitals, giving the help I can give, learning a perspective about how the country operates, where the country is going. And then I figured it out like, right now there's nothing actually I can do here, so let me just go other places, expand my knowledge, and make something out of myself. So when the country is stable, I'll be able to come in and then give a hand, and that's actually what I did by going to Egypt, learning about aesthetics in Ain Shams University, and then going to the Cairo Implant Academy and learning about implant, and going to Novodex and learning about the advanced aesthetics, and then coming to Nairobi, working with various advanced doctors and teams, learning about the field in Nairobi and the whole East Africa, how it operates, and then expanding into joining the international team of implantology in South Africa, and then the Global Dental Implant Academy in the USA, and then I'm hoping for more things to come in, so we can be able to help our country. Uh, Going through that, I learned that there is a gap in the market, and then I prepared myself to open my own practice, the Pyramid Dental Clinic, to lend a hand for everybody. People who are from Nairobi, Kenya here, people who are coming and having a barrier or a gap of a language, people who speak other languages like our native languages or Arabic only. So we'll be able to give them a hand and a proper treatment. And that's how we decided to open the Pyramid Dental Clinic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ajak. And we can see from many of you, the stories that we've had today, most of us had this passion from when we were young, and we basically focused on this profession because of the idea that we were going to make a difference. We were going to help our country, despite the fact that so many challenges have been encountered and many of us have not been able to actually practice there. We hope that things will get better. Dr. Boucher is back with us, so you can go ahead, Dr. Boucher, go ahead.
Sorry for the hiccup, right? So, but anyway, I'm Bushai Otum, and I'm a pharmacist by profession. And I really thank God that I became a pharmacist. It's been a dream of every South Sudanese, just to be a medical doctor. So, actually, and then when I sat for my secondary school, my first option was to apply for School of Medicine. But then my mom told me, you just apply for pharmacy. So I told her, why pharmacy? Anyway, it didn't actually enter my head at that time. So I apply, and there is our options when you do your application. So the first definitely was a medical doctor, and then the rest was, I put pharmacist just down there. Unfortunately, I was accepted in pharmacy instead of a school of medicine. I took it up, and I said, okay, let me just venture it and try to see how it's gonna be. And actually, down the road, I really appreciated that I considered, pharmacy and actually joined pharmacy. And I was really, grateful for my mom for that advice and for encouraging me actually to attend a school of pharmacy. Because actually, when I look down the line, I said, it's okay. A medical doctor can diagnose, can check the patient. But if the patient does not get the right medication, right, there is still something which is missing. And our part, actually, I'm not going to say that it's the important part, but it's also, it's a critical part, because after everything is done, and if the patient does not receive the right medication, right, all what have been done is just a waste. So I actually took it as my motto, like that. I look at it like that, and I really just, flow and became a pharmacist I am today. And mainly, actually, when you look into the issue of the pharmacy in South Sudan, we still have a lot of challenge, because currently we don't have even a school of pharmacy in South Sudan as a whole. So if you really want to study pharmacy, you need to go outside the country. Uh, there is a small, efforts, and they just open a school of pharmacy technician, but it's still also, it's not still up to the level, and they still need support, to be able to at least deliver a quality education for that middle cadre. So being a pharmacist in South Sudan is not an easy journey also, right? Because you need, we are just like the doctors also, you need to be in the hospital, night shift and all of these things, right? And any small mistake, it's really fatal. So there's a time I was working in Juba Teaching Hospital. Anyway, I thank God did not happen in my time, but they were telling me a story that one of the nurses actually in the pharmacy, she mistaken between two medicines, and that led to, the death of a patient, right? Which is really, really critical. And that's part of, what I told them as people in the pharmacy. I told them, don't assume that you know how the medicine look like. That is not enough. Always try to read, right? Because there is many formulation which look alike, right? Even especially the injectable. If you look at quinine injection, promethazine injection, they all look alike, right? So if you really don't read, you can actually mix up between the two medications. So being a pharmacist is also very important. And I know, some of the pharmacists, they think that, they are not that important in this circle, right, of the medical personnel, but they're really very important cadre. And that's what I always tell them, right, that it's really important to even equip yourself and know, because if you go actually in the Western part of, of the world, pharmacists, they are the one actually who write the medication. Doctors do the diagnosis and everything, and then they send, the history of the patient to the pharmacist, and pharmacists now decide which medicine to be given to the patient. So we really need to build up in that. And we know that we have a challenges of human resource, but we really need to ensure that what we are having currently in South Sudan, we build on them. And me, when I was actually a trainer, when I was still with the Ministry of Health, I try my best, to ensure that those who are handling medicines are trained well, at least, that they know what they need to do. Because currently it's still a challenge with our health facilities. Everywhere you go, they say there is no medicine. Why there is no medicine? Because, there is no people who are really trained, especially in supply chain, which is a very important aspect, right? If we really don't look into it, right, we will really have issues and challenges with availability of the medicine in the country. And also, we know that medicine also is another another venture where many people want to come in, even though they are not pharmacists, right? Like, and then it's also a lucrative business where people also do, a business which is not good also for human health. There's those who bring counterfeit medicine, substandard, and they don't care, right? They just sell it. And this is actually a challenge that we are facing now in South Sudan. We really have a weak regulatory framework in the country, which really need to be strengthened, and nobody can do that except pharmacists. So pharmacists really, they need to stand up and look into that. So that actually what motivated me to be a pharmacist in this country, because I know the vast challenges that we are facing in this country, and we really need to stand up and do something for our people. So over to you, Dr. Anne.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Bishi. I like your emphasis on the fact that if we don't give the right medication at the end of the day, then for us, then our work hasn't achieved the results that we wanted it to achieve. And it's very sad to hear that we don't have a school of pharmacy in South Sudan. And for those who have the ability to make that happen, who are listening to this discussion right now, we think it's very important for that to happen. This is not something we can outsource. We need to train our own people. So thank you so much for that, Dr. Boucher. So Dr. Idioro, we'll go back to you. And we know when people get into this profession, there's some things that we did not expect when we went into the profession. Are there any shocks or surprises or things that you did not expect that you've encountered in your journey in this profession, and how were you able to overcome that?
Okay, let me just start by replying to Dr. Jack. Like, people look at dentistry like it's something which is very simple. I remember after completing my Sudan school certificate, me and my friend, so I was taken for medicine and my friend went for dental. Then my aunt asked, "What are you studying?" I said, "Medicine." "What about Mimi, your friend?" Said she's doing dental medicine. Then we explained to her it's asnan in Arabic. So she asked, how many years each? I told her 6 years, and for her it's 5 years. I said, only sunun the best? So sunun bagara kam sasana? So people look at, but me, I look at everything as it is actually the capacity of the person who is doing it. Like Bushai, I can tell you, if I'm even forced to do pharmacy, I will not, because I consider pharmacology is the toughest thing I have. So it's just the individual capacity. So wherever you go, I respect everyone in whatever capacity they are doing, because whatever they are doing, I might not be able to do. Coming back to my question, I think I had so many shocks in medicine during my journey. First, I used to think doctors, like before, doctors are really respected. When a doctor tells someone, now this is what is going to happen, this is the treatment I'm going to give you, they listen and they take it. But nowadays, no, you have to discuss with the patient, and the patient has to accept your treatment. If the patient declines the treatment, you cannot force. There is something called consent. So I encountered some people who actually, like, you diagnose them that labor is not going any further, we need to do CS, and they will tell you, Daktari, no, I will not go for CS. And what is so shocking about it is they rather the baby dies than having a CS. And these are things that I have encountered in during my career, which is really so shocking. But for them, like if the baby dies, they will say, thank God. Then you deliver. Now normal delivery. It's better the baby dies than going for cesarean section. So you feel like, there was one time I told a patient, you feel like doctors don't feel. You are the ones who feel. Maybe because of financial grounds, people think, Daktari wants to do the surgery because she's getting money. But the stress I get, I actually need counseling after encountering such situations. So it's actually, sometimes it is very traumatizing, but patients will always think, because we just put that face to counsel them, so they think Daktari doesn't even bother about it, but they don't know what we go through. You come home, you're not, you can't even do anything. You are just thinking about how that baby died, although it is not it wasn't your own making, but someone refused. So it's actually one of the careers that I will say obstetrics has actually made me to learn a lot by what patient take as their choices and their rights. Yeah. Then again, during my career, there was also one thing that shocked me. I was working in Juba. That was 2015. Then as I was coming for delivery. I was already 36 weeks. So I decided to come, and I did the process very well. I came to Nairobi. Now getting a call from a friend that your name is being announced on South Sudan radio. Why? That you have absconded your duties. So I felt like, I was pregnant, and everyone in Juba Teaching Hospital saw me very, very grave. How come someone will just go and announce my name on the national radio that Dr. Diora has absconded her duties? So I felt that one very bad, and I felt it was because I was a woman. So I really felt discriminated, and that was from my place of work, and it was a very bad experience at that time. I think this is enough for now. Back to you.
Wow, that is so unfortunate. I think that's one of the main issues that we face as South Sudanese female doctors and female doctors in general. The fact that there has been for a very long time some degree of discrimination when it comes to women who are either in science or technology or medicine, and it gets really amplified, especially when we have to go through things that men don't go through, like having periods and period pain and being pregnant, and that can really amplify that issue of it not being very, very balanced in terms of the way women have to experience this profession versus men. So thank you for that, Dr. Idioro. Dr. Linda, any shocks, surprises that you have encountered in your practice or your profession so far, and how did you deal with this encounters?
Yeah, thank you once again. Actually, there is a lot of surprises that you can get it every day when you're actually when you are in emergency. I remember one day there is a patient. They brought him to me, and he had an accident. He was bleeding and really suffering. After we checked the blood and everything, the patient actually needed blood to save his life. But the moment I asked the relative to donate blood to save the patient life, all of them they disappeared. Now, how I'm going to help this patient? This one of surprise that you can get it. So the relative, even they don't care of saving of life of the patient. And after patient died, they can come and complain that the doctor, they are there, they did nothing. They just left the patient to die. And it was very shocked, honestly, for me. It is very shocked and disappointed. Also, other things like when you are working and you want to save life, and there is not any single emergency medication in the facility. This is how we are going to solve it. It's really a big problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Linda. I don't know the stories of people not willing to help because of maybe stigma or them thinking that they're going to be put in danger if they assist patients with things like blood transfusion and all that, and the animosity towards doctors when patients die. I think it's a very common story, especially in South Sudan. It's been something that's been an issue where doctors can even get attacked because a patient has died, and because of sometimes ignorance, people don't understand how this person ended up there, and they don't know the kind of issues that we have to deal with in terms of lack of medication, lack of certain facilities, and it becomes quite a difficult thing to practice. I think in South Sudan, Dr. Linda, I applaud you for sticking it through and even going to the extent of even starting a clinic to make sure that you give care to our people there in South Sudan. Thank you so much for that. And I hope that as people are watching now, they understand, even as we talk about some of the surprises and challenges, that we also need them to look at us with empathy and with a human eye, and to realize that we are here because we chose to make a difference for the lives of people. And it's not all about the money, as Dr. Idura was saying, that some people think it's all about the money, but it's not about the money, it's about saving life. Dr. Jane, any shocks, any shocks or surprises, and how did you deal with them?
Well, I can tell you many stories, but I'm going to tell you a few. If you have read my book, I did list a few stories in there. One is that in my first statement, I mentioned that when I was working in Juba Teaching Hospital as a nurse, I thought I could do more. And that was because I saw something and I saw a gap. It's in my first book, and it's in my second edition of book that is coming up because I edited the first version. When I was working in Juba Teaching Hospital in the first class, second class, and sometimes in Ward 2, there's this thing that there was really, really poor documentation. A patient would be admitted with just a piece of paper. And if this patient had comes from a tribe where the family members have lots of doctors, the admitting doctor will write a medicine. The nurse will take that paper to the pharmacy. The pharmacy will hold that paper and give you the medicine. Now the nurse is coming back without the paper. You come and inject that medicine. That's the end of it. Another family member will go bring another doctor. And that doctor will come and write another medicine on another small piece of paper. The nurse will go to the pharmacy, hand that paper to the pharmacy. The pharmacy will hold the paper and give the nurse the medicine. The nurse will come and inject that patient. Not knowing this same medication was the one you administered prior. Another doctor will come. This was one of the tribes that had a lot of doctors in their tribe. So by the end of 2, 3, 4 hours, that same patient has gotten 3, 4 doses of the same medication, and the patient dies. And we have seen this tons and tons. And I was one of those nurses. And there was nothing I could have done to prevent that. Because one, there was no documentation, and there was nothing held. The files, there were a few files that we put at the end of the bed of the patient. There would be like one sentence on it, but the medication was written on a piece of paper and taken to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy has it. So I'm very proud to see Dr. Bashai there and making progress in Juba, because I was there right from 1988 in Juba Teaching Hospital facing these things. I graduated from there. I became a teacher in Juba Nursing Hospital. And I have seen it with my own eyes. And this was really challenging. And we can see patients die, but there's nothing we can do as nurses. And my role, I went several times to Juba Teaching Hospital in creating the new nursing school, is to empower nurses to be able to speak out when they see such things. Though you will be regarded as a remind that so-called you, what do you know about it? But the role of the nurse is to stand up to the doctor and say, Doc, this is the same medicine we have already administered to the patient. Do you really want me to administer it now or to administer it 6 hours later? Do you want to take a look at what we have already administered? And to really be able to keep a record of what the patient is getting. And that is one of the biggest challenges the Western world has addressed. Those errors have been really minimized in the Western world because of keeping documentation, correct handover from shift to shift, and making sure that the doctors listen to the nurses too. Because I've been on both sides of the aisle. I've been as a nurse and I've been as a doctor and have seen both sides. So that's there. The second thing in my career that I faced also as a nurse in the US versus as a provider was office politics. Office politics was a lot challenging that as a Black nurse on the telefloor, I was experienced with almost 17, 18 years on the floor. So I was regarded experienced, but they hire new grads with no experience and make them nurse managers. So these new grads would be sitting on the desk all day long, pacing around with doctors, talking, laughing, having time to text and make phone calls and do all that. The rest of us who are experienced had no time to eat our lunches. You had no time to go to the bathroom. You carry your lunch in the morning to work, you bring it back home. And that is very, very stressful because if another nurse decides to go on a break, so now 2 nurses, patients, you have them all, you have 10 patients instead of 5. Anything on the telefloor can go wrong. You have to do CPR. You have to run with this to the cath lab. We're on a hot floor. You have to run with this to the cath lab. You're running blood here. You're running deltism here. You're running tegrelin here. You're running insulin drip. You're running all this. You have CCRT going on. 10 patients is way too many. So you cannot take a break because that is just too much chaos going to happen. So that stressful situation was a lot challenging, but with the talking and everything, we made it sure that the telefloor reduced the number of nurses, number of patient nurses ratio to 4. And that is one of the reasons that I went to teaching, so that I can teach and show the nurses how to overcome errors and difficulties on the floor and challenges, especially not eating. And then the office politics is very difficult because if the experienced one is made as a manager, the inexperienced one is on the floor, the patients are going to die. It's a very difficult balance, but it is something necessary that we need to do. And as a provider, I see that every day. And in what Dr. Bushai shared, Dr. Idora shared, Dr. Linda shared, we see that essence of a patient resistance, patient-centered care, patient-informed consent. But luckily in the US, we have other avenues. For example, if it is a child that needed blood and the parents say no, you totally ignore the parent. You still run that blood because the law is that you're going to work for the best interest of the child. But if it is an adult who said no, that's up to them. And there are things that we can do separately. For example, if it is an elderly, we have the law so that, even if the family don't show up, the family don't do that, we can do that because we have to protect them. And then things like blood, we don't have to ask the family because we have blood in the hospital. Basically, they are donors, and they're like Red Cross or other companies that run blood donation specifically for the hospital, so we don't have to struggle for that. But the same challenges of addressing patient care and patient compliance is very, very high. One of the ways to reduce that is giving patients medications that they take once or only twice a day, because if you give them medication they're going to take 4 times a day, obviously they will not take it. Or medications that they need to take with food and they don't have food, obviously they're not going to take it. And medications that they need to inject, if they can take the pill, probably it will be better to take the pill versus the one injection, because they may not be able to have the guts to give themselves a shot, or to the opportunity to have somebody, or even to buy the syringe. So there's way too many challenges, but what I look at it is the positive side, that we can address those, work with our patients, work with our community, work with our educators to make those challenges better and improve the people's life.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Jane, for that. And I think there's something that needs to be emphasized, that the whole medical setup works in such a way that each part is important. Otherwise, we don't get the end results that we need. And what people don't understand is that the systems have to work. You can have an excellent doctor, you can have an excellent nurse, you can have an excellent pharmacist, you can have an excellent people hanging around there, but if the systems are not working, if there's no coordination between all those different units, then you are just messing up the whole process, and therefore messing up the end result. And this is something that needs to be emphasized in medical care, that the systems have to work, and each and every part of that machine has to work, and none is less important than the other one. And also overwhelming certain cadres with work becomes a problem, because people really get to a point where it becomes difficult for them to sort out individual patients because of such issues. But thank you for that. We will go further into the challenges after we finish with Dr. Bushai and Dr. Ajak. Then we'll just do a round of challenges again, and maybe some of the possible recommendations that each and every one of us might have in the various fields. Thank you, Bak, for encouraging us. He's saying that this is a great platform, educating South Sudanese from all walks of life. Keep inspiring the young generation. Thank you so much, Bak, for that encouragement. So, Dr. Boucher, any shocks that you received in your work, and then how did you overcome these shocks?
Definitely, in life, shock is part of the life, and we need to accept it as that. So actually, okay, let me just share. Even when I was still in the university, when actually, okay, there's a time when the exam was almost, and I had a system that 1 month before the exams, I really, do my own camp and study, to pass my education. So there was some just colleagues, actually it's a senior colleague, a South Sudanese, a male, when I said, okay, guys, I won't be part of this, I want to go and start studying. So he looked at me and said, do you think you will pass? Imagine just telling me that. I was like, okay, me, I expected at least for him to encourage me. and all of that. But for him, like, oh, you junior, you think that you will pass? We've been here before you, and we never pass. You think that you will come and pass? I say, fine, there is no problem. And then eventually, I even left him in the university. But this is what also we need to know, that we don't get discouraged by the comments of people, or by experience of other people, right? If you did not make it, it's not necessary that I cannot make it. I will also make it. So the other challenge is actually related to the work. South Sudanese, I always say that we are really a unique people. And sometimes I think that maybe someone needs to really understand, the context of our DNA to understand that, well, what is it in us? So part of the main actually challenges that we face as pharmacists, you'll find a patient who will come and will demand for injections. Like, okay, why don't you start with the other medication? You don't need to take the injection. But they have a concept that it's only education, it's only injection that can procure them. So I actually have experienced that. One person came to me and I told him, it was in a private sector. I was working in one of the outlets in the evening, and he came and he said that he needed a certain injection. I said, for who? He said, for a baby. I said, baby, giving injection. I said, why do you want to give an injection to the baby? I asked him, did the doctor prescribe that? He said, no. But he feel that that's the right medication. So I was like, I'm sorry, I cannot give it to you. Right? Because for me, I think this is not the right medication. And you can give the patient, the baby actually, a syrup, Then when I brought the medicine for him, I tried to explain to him. He said, okay, he will, he will let him go. He will come back. So he left. So unfortunately, he went to the next pharmacy and they sold him the medicine. So he came passing, and actually when he saw me inside, he tried to hide the medicine, but I've already seen it, right? So, and this is the shock that, other pharmacies, that that's wrong. So why are you giving a wrong medication? And it's our role actually to educate the patients and to give them the right medication. So, in our life, in this journey, we know that there's a lot of challenges, even including from our own, environments. People don't believe in you, especially when they see that you're a female, they look at you surprisingly. But, I always say that for us also, we have our own magic that we can, change things. And I have experience when I joined one of the NGOs. Actually, I was the only female in the whole warehouse. Everybody was male. I was the only first female to enter there. So even the manager was like, I really don't know how you will manage those men there. I said, anyway, let's see how it's going to be. So I started to work with them. Well, I try to engage them, work with them, and all of this. So after 1 week, when I was entering the office, I found the manager standing, and he was just very thrilled. So I was surprised. I said, "Okay, I heard did not do something wrong." So he said, "I really want to know how did you do it." So I was like, "What have I done?" So he told me, these people have been convincing them for over 2 years, right? At least to display the stock cards next to the medicine. Nobody wants. But now, surprisingly, when I went there this morning, I found everything there. What have you done? So I tell him, anyway, this is the magic of a woman. So, yeah. So this is always, what? Yes, challenges are there, surprises are there, shocks are there, but, we need to be, resilient, and we need to know how to, how to manage things. This is a nature which is in us as a woman, right? We know how to, to manage things. They can bring, from, as they said, from a leaf, we can make a meal out of it. So from all these challenges, I know we, the females doctors, we can still improve this sector with all the challenges that we are facing in the sector in South Sudan. I know that if we come together and we put just a little effort, we are able to change everything around. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bushai. I like that part for this is the magic of a woman. Now I can see they understood why you actually need feminine energy in many places, because things don't work if there's no feminine energy. We are able to organize things. We are able to even change the ambience and the whole feel of a place is changed by a woman. And it's good that over time, more women got into the medical profession, and now there's so much empathy there. There's so much nurturing even within the medical profession, and I believe it's because of the feminine energy that was injected over the years. Dr. Ajak, any shocks in your in your experience in your work as a dentist, and how did you deal with them?
So majorly, I had two things happening to me. The first one was coming to South Sudan and figuring out that dentistry in South Sudan was only about extraction, the teeth extraction. That's it. So every patient who comes in, he will just expect you to do an extraction, and if you don't want to do it, then you're not a good doctor. So it took us forever to convince patients actually that there is other various treatments they can do for their teeth, and some accepted it, but the majority, they're still like telling us like the root canal treatments or the other treatments we do for the teeth, they actually don't last, and then you just extract my teeth. That's what the most of the South Sudanese goes to. And then with time now we are beginning to solve it. Actually, we didn't solve it yet, but we are beginning to solve it, convincing the people who lives around the capital or in the towns. But once you go further or deeper into Juba, into South Sudan, you'll find people are still going to extraction, and that's it. The second thing was me starting working here in Nairobi. I had a bit of a small figure, and then everybody looked at me like, first thing, she has a small figure. The second thing, she's a female. She can't do this kind of surgery. She can't pull this thing. We need like a male doctor. Uh, so me as a female, I had to like prove myself 10 times more than the male doctors, just to convince the patients that I'm able to do it. I'm actually trained to do it. I have the knowledge to do it. And it took forever, but now it's picking up. And with time now, I skipped that by gaining some weight with the deliveries and carrying the babies. So now I'm a big figure. They look at me like, oh, she's a big madam. She can do that. Literally, yeah. But still, when I started my private practice, people were still coming to me and sitting in my office. And when we were about to start the treatment, after explaining to them what we need to do, then they tell me, but where is Dr. Ajak? We are waiting for him to come. Then I'd be like, well, it's not a him, it's a she, and I'm here. Then they'll be like, oh, we thought the owner of the clinic is a male. I was like, why? Female cannot do this? This was a very like shocking thing for me. So people expect South Sudanese women to sit in homes only, and they can't do anything beside raising their kids or cooking in the kitchen, which is not true. We are actually have too many things we can do. We have muscles literally, so we can't hide ourselves and stay in people's shadows because we are female, and our cultures tell us to do that. Time has changed, and if you're a woman and you have muscles to do something, you go for it. You go for it and do it, and that's it.
Interesting story, Dr. Jack, about having to gain weight for people to actually say, yeah, this is a big madam. She can pull out her teeth. I think that's what many people also say about orthopedics, you know, like if you're not built and you don't have muscles, you can't do orthopedics. So many women have shied away from that particular profession because of that. But now we're getting a lot of them getting in. And for a very long time, even during my training, um, there's this thing where when you work in public hospitals, everybody just calls you sister, 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 and they say they're waiting for the doctor. And even up to now, it still happens. They say they're waiting for the doctor. As long as you're female, you're not considered a doctor. And sometimes they even don't trust what you're telling them because you're female, which is quite unfortunate. I think there's a lot of education that has to go into that. So now, I'd like to ask each and every one of us to just give 2 or 3 challenges in your current professional working life that you have encountered, and how you have been able to overcome it. And then after that, we'll talk about the unequal treatment of maybe let's just go into it. A lot of you have talked about this discrimination against females in the profession, in the medical practice. This is something that we have seen, many of us have experienced. And what have, maybe you can just tell one story about what you've experienced in your professional careers, about the treatment of male versus female doctors, and including pay, and then give us like 2 or 3 challenges in your current working life and how you have overcome it. So let's talk about our experience in terms of the discrimination, and then we talk about 2 or 3 challenges and how we've overcome. So we'll start with Dr. Idioro.
Okay. Yeah, thank you once again, Dr. Ann. Like most of the colleagues have said, now you walk into a hospital and someone tells you, nurse, when is the doctor coming? And most of the time I'll tell them, the doctor will come. Just wait for the doctor to come. Then again, nurse, I'm waiting for the doctor. I wanted 1, 2, 3. So I will just tell them, go to the bed. The doctor will come there and attend to your patient. So at the end, they will see me coming. And then I attend to them. But even if you are in a lab coat and seated there and your name is written clearly, Dr. Dioro, they will still come and call you nurse. So it's just a common thing where I think they look the doctor, people still feel the doctor should be a male person. Then again, in terms of pay, I didn't imagine that this thing happened until one day a colleague of mine came and told me. She was senior than me, then another male colleague who actually finished after me. Then she came and told me, Dr. Joro, could you believe so-and-so is getting paid more than me? I said, really? She told me, yes. You cannot imagine. And he is a very junior than us. So actually these things happen. But me, I always try to believe that maybe us as females, we don't argue our pay out. Maybe actually we also need to take time, sit with the HR and discuss our pay. Maybe this is some of the things that as female doctors, we don't do. We don't take time to negotiate our pay. And we end up being underpaid. And we feel that males are paid better, because I still want to feel positive anyway. I don't want to believe that it happens, but it happens. So I think I will just encourage every female people should just be open to one another, discuss our pay, so that when the other one is also going to discuss their pay, they know the baseline they are going to discuss the pay on. Most of the time, you just go there, you don't know you're offered this one, and you feel like, because you're desperate for work, then you feel like, this one is okay. So you just take it up. But I think we need to be more open. Again, like in South Sudan, we used to be, when we are seated there in the casualty, then itamara de dictor revenue. It is so offensive. Kemleta itamara de, which again be lab court attack if outpatient, and now somebody is telling you itamara de. When you tell them something, demara sakit. So this thing actually happens a lot, and you feel bad, but still you want to treat the patient. And we just go our extra mile, and you don't take it negatively. You still treat their patients, and they go. That is when I used to be there anyway. So actually, the challenges are many and many. Like when I joined my MEd program, the first day I came, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're from South Sudan. Hey, we had a South Sudanese here. He never completed just one day labor flow, and he left. Will you really manage?" I never found anyone in that team who has encouraged me that this thing you will make it. Everyone was telling me you will not manage. Then when we did our part 1, and rumors had it that time that one person has failed part 1. So even me myself, I believed it was me. I was working at that time. Then my friend said, "Hey, Idioro, let's run to the board. The result is out." I told her, just go I'm not willing. I think, see, one person has failed. That is me. It's okay. Let me prepare for the next exams. Then when she reached the board, she called me, Dr. Jora, just come, you have passed. You know, yani, they put something in you until even you feel yourself, you are even less. So, so I think sometimes, like Bushai said, people will look at you like, hey, you will not make it. And actually, they don't know your capability, how you will you will do it. So anyway, that one has passed. And Bushai, I will still tell you, let me just tell you today, I used to admire you very much when we used to be in the same hostel, because Bushai will actually come and she will really pass with flying colors, not like the rest. So I really used to admire her. This girl is so tough. And because my phobia for pharmacy, now she was really my hero because she was able to do that thing. So I think let's just look at people, even if she's a lady, let's just encourage. But I feel as females, we are always being discouraged on whatever we are doing. But let's always take it positively, and let us mentor the young ones and tell them this thing you will make it. And again, because we are ladies and the expectations is much. You are married and you're expected to be a wife, you were expected to be a mother, and no one is even bothered what you're going through at work. That one you are extra thing, and the one you're going at work is actually much more than the one at home. But I'm glad that I'm able to balance from work. After leaving that maternity ward, you leave everything there. Whatever the bad outcome, you come sit in your car, think over yourself, and you leave those things there. When you come home, the kids are there. You start laughing, change, go to the kitchen, and life goes on. I think this is what we need to have. And me personally, as Idioro, I have that good personal agility where I recover very fast. I think over it, I get solution, and I move on. It is not easy to be a doctor and a mother and a wife. It is actually very, very difficult and extremely difficult. But as Bushai has said, that is the magic of a woman, and that is why we are managing, and we have managed, and we will manage. And even the young ones, even if you are still in high school and you want to join, don't fear anything. You are going to manage, and you will make it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Idira, for that. That's very encouraging, because juggling family and juggling career, and especially career advancement, because of course, after you finish every stage of your training, somebody tells you, oh yeah, and now you have to get a fellowship. And then after the fellowship, they tell you, oh, you have to get a PhD. And after the PhD, they tell you, oh, you have to write research papers. Like, it never ends. Which is quite tormenting for a lot of us. But thank you so much for that encouragement. Dr. Linda, have you had experiences where as a female doctor you've been treated differently from male doctors or paid less than male doctors? And then give us 2 or 3 challenges that you currently have encountered in your current practice and how you have overcome them.
Okay, actually, we all agree that we are not be treated the same as a male because due to our culture base, they don't believe that, or they don't expect us to be in a position or to be a doctor. Otherwise, all they expected us to be in the kitchen, cooking, or a nurse. That's all what they expected, and it's honestly disappointed for us as a female. Regarding of the payment, actually, I didn't experience one day that they pay me less than my other colleagues. So the payment, there is no any problem with in that. This according to me. There is a lot of challenge that affect you can affect it during your work. Like you can get less time with the patient. So you need to get time with the patient so that you will get a proper diagnosis or to make a good treatment to the patient due to the what? Because you can attend to the 100 of the patient, you have to see them all, and there is not enough time so that you will stay with one patient to get a proper diagnosis. Also, most of the big challenge that you can face it in South Sudan, the language barrier. As we are coming from different place, we have like a lot of language. Some people they don't know Arabic or they don't know English, so it will be hard for you to communicate to them. So you have to try all your best to get a very basic information, and you have to do a proper examination to examine to the patient so that you can help him and give him the proper medication. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Linda. Yeah, I think the overload in terms of patients and not really having time to sort out everyone the way you want to, because there's so many people needing our services is quite a big issue, and this is across board, across the continent. And also the language barrier for South Sudan is a real thing, because now some of us who've grown up in the diaspora are more fluent in, let's say, English and even Kiswahili, and then we have to come there and speak in Arabic, which I haven't really spoken fluently since I was like 2 years old, and I'm expected to communicate with this person and find out what's going on with them. I actually thank God that I deal with children, because most of the time they can't even tell you what's going on with them. So we rely very heavily on physical examination. So, but many people don't have that kind of training or experience to be able to just focus on the physical examination only. So that is definitely a challenge that we identify with. And in terms of the pay, yes, I think I agree with Dr. Idioro to some extent. I don't know if the rest of the panelists will have different opinions. That sometimes as women, we do not negotiate. We don't hardball it. We don't negotiate for what we are worth. And the truth is, nobody will ever pay you what you're worth. If you're not able to negotiate for it, then people will not pay you what you're worth. So we have to learn to negotiate and stand for ourselves and stand our ground, because of course our training and all the years that we put in to become who we are right now is of very high value, and we have to be able to stand and say, this is what I think I'm worth, and stand your ground, because I think the men do it, we have to do it. Dr. Jane, any experience with discrimination as a female medical practitioner versus the males, differences in pay, and 2 or 3 challenges in your current practice and how you've overcome them?
Well, I've had several. I did signal earlier that I got burnt out in the hospital. So after graduation in 2011 as a nurse practitioner, I decided that I will never clock in for a job again. And I have kept that promise that I will not clock in for a job, and I will never allow hire and fire. That means I will not be employed by anybody, and I will not be fired by anybody. So I got into practice, and I was part of them. So in a physician group, there would be a number of physicians, and there will be assignment distribution. In the morning, you go to this hospital, this goes to this hospital, and that goes there. And on this day, you have clinic on these days. So I had hospitals every day, and I had Wednesday afternoon from 1 to 5 or 1 to 6 outpatient clinic, and Friday from 1 to 6 outpatient clinic. The whole thing was that I live in Phoenix West, and the hospital is in Scottsdale. And the doctors who live in Scottsdale actually want to go to Phoenix, and I drive from Phoenix West to Scottsdale more than 45 miles every day, because there is less number of patients in the hospital in Phoenix that we had, and there were more number of patients in the Scottsdale hospital. So I had to see 27 to 37 patients a day. I start my day at 5. So that means I leave my home at 4 a.m. to be in the hospital, rounding all day long. And even after rounds, doing all the patients, seeing all the patients, writing all the notes, you dictate all the notes. Of course, we had to dictate it, and then some people type it over there. They come back on the computer. You have to sign it. You still sit there because from time to time the nurses will come to you, doc, this one did not poop, this one didn't have this, and this family member just came in complaining this, there's a lawyer needing for this. So you have to be there all day long, and it really, really burned me out. So that was a big challenge, and I didn't know that was not my expectation, but it was a big challenge because I was part of the group. And secondly, when I went to the outpatient Wednesdays and Fridays, what I didn't know is that there were not enough women taking that outpatient. So I had to deal with doing pap smears and women preventive issues every Wednesday and Friday, and it felt like I was just dealing with women. And I am like, oh, gee, do these men not want to see this women or women preferences? Yes, there's women preferences, but also I felt I was not having the opportunity to see a variety of patients and learn from variety of different situations. And I was restricted only to doing those women cases every Wednesday and Friday. And on top of that, I was burned out. So Sundays, every Sunday, Saturday and Sunday, I was on call. Only one Sunday and Saturday that I wasn't on call. So that was like 3 on calls a month versus the rest of the doctors were on call only once a month because they had the voice of saying, I will not be available this weekend, and Jane, you take my place. And another weekend, the other one would be like, I will not be available, Jane, you take my place. And I didn't have that voice. As a new grad nurse practitioner, I didn't have that voice. But and then again, the pay issue. In nurse practitioner school, we were taught how to negotiate our pay, but it was not enough. There is actually a book you can read, How to Negotiate Your Pay. And but I didn't do a good job in it because my thought was that as a woman of color, if I spend that time negotiating my pay, I may not get the job, which was not true because I'm in a technical position that whether they like it or not, they will need somebody of that career. They will have to get somebody eventually of that career. So I thought I did not do a good job, but I did get paid decently. But except I worked too much and too many hours and got burnt out. So that was a shocker. And the second thing is that when I left teaching because of one great challenge. I was there teaching full time, so I left teach full time for part time because of one of the deans of the school. She's a master's graduate, and she one day called me to office and said, and it's a female, it's a lady. She said, I don't know why you still want to teach here. You do have a doctorate, you have an opportunity to go to larger universities. I said, I'm in one. I'm under DeVry University. Even if I teach in Carrington, I teach in DeVry. I'm under DeVry University. I'm being paid by a larger university institution. He said, well, I only have a master's. I can't go anywhere else. You have a doctorate. You can go somewhere. So I felt like she was trying to push me out because she thought I was probably one day going to take her place. That was not the reason I was there. I was like, this is not enough money here. I need to go to go back to full-time clinical because I can't afford to have 45,000 pay cut. That is a lot of money. And my kids don't qualify financial aid, and which I feel I'm discriminated because they think I make too much money, but I'm not making enough money. So that was a shocker to me. So that's challenges that you're going to find. It's office politics, and it's going to happen there. But again, the way I corrected all this was that standing on my ground that I did not want to be hired or fired. So I continued to be in my clinic, run my own clinic, but also have these contracts with the state. And with the universities that I do these things for them, but I never clock in for a job and I never be on somebody's pay list. I get paid contracted wages, and I don't have to deal with any of those things that they want to do with. And to empower women to do that is a very big task, so that women can really think of negotiating their money, and not only their pay, but also choosing careers. Because if you choose a technical career, they have no choice but to take you. With our situations where I live in a Republican state, it's a right to work state, it's a will to work state. I don't know if you guys understand what it means, but a right to work state and a will to work state. So you can choose to work, you can choose to walk away anytime from the job. So, and they can choose not to hire you, but you're being in a technical position, they have no choice. Even if they don't like your color, they will have to hire you because they need the job to get done. So when women look at career choices and choose technical places, they have a choice to be in that job. They have an opportunity to be there, and they have an opportunity to negotiate their pay. If you just go to a job where any person can perform the job, they don't have to negotiate your pay. You don't want it to go because there's another person who will do the job. But if you have a technical career, they have no choice but to get you. Thank you.
Wow, I think that's very, very deep. The career choice advice that you're giving, that with a technical career, it becomes really difficult for people to say, you know what, we don't need you, because they still have to fill that position with someone with that same technical capacity. And that is an encouragement and advice that I feel our audience, whoever is listening, who is trying to decide right now what kind of career choice you're going to take, it's difficult to replace someone who knows what they're doing and who has a skill that's valuable and actually rare. I know there are many doctors, there are many nurses, there are many dentists, there are many pharmacists, but compared to the world population, the number is almost insignificant in terms of taking care of the people who need to be taken care of. So whatever career path you choose a technical career that puts you in a 10% kind of scenario where your skills are valuable, your skills are rare, and your skills are needed. And it will be very difficult for people to either turn you away or ignore you, or ignore your contribution to society. Not saying that other professions have no value, they do, but even in those professions, make sure you acquire skills and that are very valuable and very rare within that particular profession that you have chosen, so that it becomes very difficult for people to turn you away because they need your skills. Dr. Bushai, tell us, any experience with discrimination, unfair treatment for you versus male doctors, and in terms of pay, and maybe give us 2 or 3 challenges that you've encountered in your current work, and how you overcame them.
Okay, let me just start after my graduation and after I finish my internship. I get then employed as a civil servant. And normally, okay, when a doctor just joined the civil servant, the first grade is supposed to be grade 8. But then I was appointed as grade 9. So I was like, okay, why am I in grade 9? Right? So for them, maybe they look at me, they said, this young girl, just let us put her anywhere. So anyway, because in the beginning, I wasn't aware actually about the public service, rules and laws. And as I'm there, suddenly one of the male pharmacists, whom actually, when he came and did the internship, I was the supervisor, and I'm the one who signed off his document. Now I've been put in grade 7. So I was like, okay. So I tried to inquire, I like, okay, you need to make me understand. I thought that the rule when you join, you're in grade 9, but now I'm seeing people are joining after me, right? And they are putting ahead of me. So I went through the law and all of this, and then I discovered that I supposed actually to start by grade 8. I say, okay. So I raised the issue and all of this, and at the end it was corrected. and they paid me my arrears, right? And that experience also, there was a training actually concerning the unit which I'm heading. It's the title, it's my title, right? And the training, and we agree about the training and all of that. Then suddenly now, when the nomination came for the person who's supposed to go, I knew they have nominated me first. My name was there, but then suddenly I don't know what happened. My name was changed. A male doctor was put there in my place. So I was like, why? It's me who's supposed to go. Is it because I'm a female? So I say, no, I can't keep quiet because of this. So I went to our DJ. I told him, why was I changed? This is where I supposed to go. This is my training and all of this. So he said, yeah, okay. Then they ended up actually putting me. So you will receive discrimination. It will be there, but the most important thing that you need to know your rights. When you know your rights, no one can take it from you. Another experience that I also had, there's a time that I was just took off, from job, and I was just there. So one of the organizations approached me. They told me, okay, come as a consultant for us for 3 months. So I accepted, even though I know the pay wasn't that much, but I said, no, it's just a temporary work, it's just a consultancy. Let me do it. So as I was doing it, they say, okay, we are going actually to make this position a permanent position, right? And we want you to take it over. I say, fine. So they said, okay, but we'll continue paying you the same money. I told them, no, you can't continue paying me the same because I accepted as a consultant. But if we come, as a position, then you must increase my pay. In the beginning, they refused. So I told them, okay. Even they prepared the contract. I refused to sign the contract. I was working for 3 months without salary until at the end they have to rectify it and change the pay. And that's why I always say you need to know your rights. It's not, yes, that because you are in need. Yes, you are in need, but when you accept the mistreatment, it will continue like that, which is actually not good for us as a female doctors. Then also there's a time also I joined also another organization, and they have a question like, how much you want to be paid? So I told them, this is what I want to be paid. They were like, this is too much. I tell, anyway, this is how I am. So they said, it's okay, please, we know this is what you want, but this is what we can afford to pay you and all. I said, fine, there's no problem. I will take it. So I took that. But upon all of that, I just some people, after a time, while they came and tell me that, the HR manager wasn't happy of your pay. I said, why? He said, okay, that you just came and they've been there all this time. Why am I the highest to be paid? I said, this is my qualification, right? And this is what I'm supposed to be paid, right? And then you need to negotiate, right? When you sit and negotiate, you will get what you want to get. And it's unfortunate that there is also a female who came after me and she was paid very less because she wasn't in a position to negotiate. That what's really important, to negotiate and know your rights. When you know your rights, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Just know your right, and this is it, right? And as doctor say that these are technical position, and they need you in it, right? So don't allow them, right, to mistreat you or to make to pay less than what you deserve. Right? So that's over from me, and I'm seeing Anne is offline. So
I think the same question goes to Dr. Jack.
Maybe
That's right. The same question goes toward me. And then the first thing I'll start with the issue of the payment. Females being paid less than the males. We came and found it in the public sector. But for me as a dentist, we don't really work as much in the public sector because of two or three things. Mainly, the public health actually in South Sudan, they have the vision of the dentistry being just a minimum effort thing. So they look at it like there is no really an effort they can put it into dentistry and it will do something or it will pay something. So they expect us to work with the old equipment, the old chair from the time since we haven't been born yet, and then taking that chased all the dentists from the public sector. So some come from the north or wherever they went to school. They will stay for a year or two, and then they will look at it like either I stay, waste my future, or I go look for somewhere, and then when the country is ready for us, we will come back. And that's what the most of the dentists did. So if there is a talk about the public sector, we actually have the minimum to say about it, because we mostly work with the private sector. So most of the challenges that I faced in my career, they're actually related to me being a mother. Because every time I give birth or I carry a child, I have to have like a little gap in my career. So that gap cannot be filled or like put together in anyhow. I have to be home until I birth my kid, because the exposure to the contact to the diseases are like maximally, it's a maximum and a high thing. You cannot do it while you're pregnant in the last stages or when the baby is little. So we have to stay home and nurse our kids for some time and then come back. So when you come back, you'll find like the male dentists, they moved ahead, they did some things, they have been rewarded some things, and that gap they expect you just to fill it, I don't know, by your imagination or what. Like nobody consider that you have been home nursing a kid or something, or trying to give birth to a child. So now you end up being in the scale of people who have actually graduated after you with 3 years or so, because those gaps cannot, there is nothing to fill them. There is no bridges there. This is like the most thing that affected me as a dentist in my career. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jack. I don't know whether you can hear me. I had to change my gadgets. Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, Aisha, you'll have to mute me on and off because the gadget I'm using is a bit difficult to operate. Thank you for that, Dr. Jack. I think I missed part of what Bushai said and part of what you said, but thank you so much for giving the audience that sneak peek into the kind of challenges that you've encountered in your practice. Now, I'd like each and every one of us, as we go towards the closing of this discussion, to just say a few words to those young ones and those who would be wanting to join this profession in the various capacities and to get into training for each in the medical field. A word of encouragement for them, and maybe you can also give your final recommendations to the various institutions, individuals who could have made your journey easier. Tell them what you'd like to say, what you'd like to see change, so that the journey for female doctors in the medical profession gets easier and is facilitated over time, so that those who come after us don't have as difficult a time as we did getting this training. We'll start with Dr. Idioro.
Okay, thank you once again. Ajak has just spoken some things of many challenges. As women, you expect to be a mother, and you expect to be either pregnant or breastfeeding. So these challenges are there. And we cannot say you finish one first, then you start the other. So you are going as someone going for the whole thing in totality. So I think these are the challenges that are going to be faced by every woman, and this should not be something that will bar you from achieving your dreams. And for the young ones, I think let it be your choice. Like some parents, they push their kids to become doctors, like Bushai said. Everyone sees like being a medical doctor is a prestige. No, let it be a choice. Like in my career, as I said, doing my master's was always in hospital, coming home late, to the extent that One day I asked my son, are you going to become a doctor? And he told me, Mom, I will never become a doctor. I asked him why. And he told me clearly, if I become a doctor, who will be sleeping with my kids at night? You know, that was a very bad trauma to me because I felt like, oh, so this 3 years old is saying like that because the mother is always not there. So it really hit me hard. But up to now, he's now 15 years, but he has made up his mind. He said, I will not become a doctor. I rather take something else than becoming a doctor. So, but my small ones, yes, because maybe I was a bit less busy. They really admire becoming a doctor, becoming doctors. All of them are like, they are becoming doctors. So I think also on our part, I think we should also try as much as possible to balance so that we don't get this experience. My son used to hate the word Kenyatta. The moment you mention Kenyatta, my son will cry. Mom, don't go to Kenyatta. Because he knows when the mom goes to Kenyatta, the mom will never come back. Maybe the mom will come tomorrow. So also for like the let me say the training centers, if there are policies, I think we should be a little bit lenient to the ladies so that also they have time with their kids. So I think it puts on it puts on so many bad image on our kids. So we need to have also time with our kids, and this should come from the policy makers. We should not be treated like during training we are expected to be the same like our male counterpart, and now when it comes to pay, we are being treated differently. So I think if it is for us to be treated differently, let us also be treated differently from the training. And in terms of policy, those who are at the policy level, I think we should encourage all the young girls or the young female who are who want to be trained as medical personnel. I think we should have also good scholarship for them so that whenever they go for the training, of course, they will go either pregnant or breastfeeding. So we should have a good scholarship for them so that they don't go and juggle also between work, studies, and home. So I think that is what I should tell our policy makers, especially the ministry. So I think also this one should also, we need to prioritize women financial independence in this term so that at least they are also financially stable and they're able to take care of their families. Thank you, Anne. Back to you.
You're still muted, Dr. Anne.
I think, Jane, you can just come in. Anne, you're mute.
Aisha, if you can unmute me. Thank you so much. Sorry, Aisha has to unmute and mute me. I'm sorry about that. Thank you so much, Dr. Eduro. I hope the people who are making the policies and who are setting up the training centers, Dr. Bushai, I'm sure you're going to help set up the pharmacy training center. And you've heard what Dr. Eduro has said, that there should be a bit of flexibility. I know that the people who trained us and the people who taught us, we are from the old school of medicine where you had to take this trainees through a very hard process so they could become very good doctors and health professionals. But this is changing with time, and there has to be some sort of give and take where we're able to also be humane even in the way we do our training and the way we treat our trainees, taking into account the differences also with the fact that males have a totally different experience from what females do. So next, I would like to ask Dr. Linda if she can just give a word to the young people who are looking to follow the same path, and also some advice to the institutions and individuals who may have made your path easier on what to do in terms of recommendations. Dr. Linda.
My message to those young people that Dr. Phil is an important role
Aisha, you can mute me, please. Thank you.
is that doctor plays an important role in a society and can make a huge difference in the life of the people. So they can help people living better, healthy, alive, and also they can improve the life of their family and their patient. And in South Sudan, we need a lot of doctors. So I encourage those young people to join the field so that we can help and provide a healthy society and community. My recommendation goes to those in concern the authority. They have to make sure that they should provide a proper training. This is a big challenge, honestly, we're facing it. They have to provide really a proper training to the new doctors in housemanship so that they can help to treat and give a proper treatment to our people. And to the Minister of Health, they have to ensure that they provide a basic medical equipment and they have to pay an attractive amount of the salary to the staff. And it should be on time because we have family to take care of it. We have bill to be paid, and it is very important. They have to look on that. On that, thank you so much.
Dr. Ann, you're still muted.
Aisha, thank you so much, Dr. Linda. Sorry, my gadgets are failing me today. I'm in Nairobi. The lights are off, so I hope this does not go off before we are done with this session. So thank you so much, Dr. Linda, for that. And that's very encouraging. And I hope those who are involved in decision making have listened to what you have to say. Dr. Ajak, a word of encouragement to those who want to follow your path into dentistry and maybe even aesthetic dentistry, and to the institutions and the policymakers who deal with training, any recommendations that you might have for them. Thank you.
So in this one, I have like one important message for the younger generations. People who want to do anything, actually, not just dentistry. My dad used to tell me one thing: it's be consistent and keep your head up. So to be consistent, to keep doing things, you may think about them like they're small, they're little, they won't be enough, they won't cover this, but at the end they will. And keep your head up. You will go through some things, some bad things. They will crush your spirit. They will make you feel like this is not what I want to do anymore. They make you feel like you want to give up, but don't do that and keep your head up. And that's the way of doing anything in life. The other thing I quote, it's the greatest fear is not us being inadequate. The greatest fear actually is us fearing our own powerfulness. We are so powerful beyond measure, and then that's what actually we fear, because God didn't make us inadequate at all. So if you know that you can do things, go for them. If you don't know that you can do things, find somebody who can tell you that, because the reality is you are capable of doing things. Um, in South Sudan, what I tell to the let's say the Ministry of Health, I would like them to consider the dental field as one of the most important fields. We have seen people dying from dental injuries, dental infection, and not being able to be treated in Juba because of, let's say, lack of materials, or lack of medications, or lack of what you call it, qualifications. Because us now in South Sudan, if you count the dentistry field, not all of them actually can, not all of us actually can cover them. We specialize in certain parts of it, but we haven't yet covered everything. So they need to start giving a scholarship for the dentist, or abroad trainings, and encourage them to do like further studies, and it will all come back to the country with help and assistance to the population, and lifting up our country will happen through that. But I want them to look at dentistry as an important field in the medicine. And that's it for me.
Okay, let me just come in. And what I really want to encourage the young generation, right, who are really interested in pharmacy, right? I will tell them, don't be like Dior, or don't get discouraged by pharmacology. It's a very beautiful and interesting, actually, topic. And I always said, if it's really interesting you, just do it or join it, and you will learn, during the journey. The journey is beautiful, and it's a learning process. So don't get discouraged. And I'm really encouraging, especially our girls, to join the science, right? Don't get intimidated and afraid from science. Join science. It's really very, very beautiful and very colorful. And you can see us in that, right? They say that those who are in science, they are cold people, but we are not, right? We are so colorful, we are beautiful, we are doing everything, right? So don't get discouraged, join it, right? And also, in our field, especially the supply chain, they get afraid in this area, and they think that it's a male dominated area. Yes, but still we can still join it, right? You don't need to look like a man, like when I was working in the warehouse, I go with my high heel, with my dress. And when I reach there, I change, I put on jeans and I walk, I finish, and then I put on again my high heel and my dress, and I go home, I do whatever I want to do. So, our dear girls, don't discourage, join us. And the most important thing also, which I really want to encourage them, look for a mentor, right? When you have a mentor, the journey will be shorter because it's somebody who already know ahead of you, know what's happened on the way, and they can advise you better. Most of us, we did not have mentors, but we struggled, we got our own way, and we made it. And also, I'm encouraging myself and also my sisters who are there, who are already ahead of the time. Just carry some girls and mentor them because they really need to be mentored, right? They really need someone to show them the way, show them when they make a mistake what needs to be done, and all of that. Because we know, especially our girls in South Sudan, they're really facing a lot. There's a lot of challenges that they're facing, and they really need encouragement from us. So for the policy aspect, I will actually talk about the sector, the pharmaceutical sector. We know that it's really unfortunate that our regulatory framework in the country is not yet up to the level which is supposed to be up to. So we are really encouraging the policymakers to invest more in that, because medicines, as we look at it, it's also a poison. And when we go in the first definition of medicines, when we went to school, they told us it's a poison. So when we are allowing that poison to enter our borders without any monitoring, without any regulation, it's really critical and fatal for our own people. You have your, don't say that you go to better health facilities and all. You still have a mother, an auntie, a cousin, a sister, even in the village, in those remote areas, and they really need to get quality assurance medication. So it's the role of the policy to ensure that the medicine that is reaching the people of South Sudan are really of quality. because we know now the sector has been even invaded by a lot of foreigners, and a foreigner may not care actually about about what will happen. He's going to make his money and go away tomorrow. So it is our role not to allow our country to be a dumping place for foreigners, or even for bringing things which are not of quality. So that is the only request that I'm raising to the policies makers, right, to ensure that the regulatory framework is strengthened in this country, also ensuring that the conducive environments for females, right, in science, to have that environment that can encourage them to take up this profession, and to take up all this learning and science, and to be able to be a productive woman to this country tomorrow. And I guess I'm going to stop here. There's a lot to be said, right? But I know the time is not in our side. So I hope that these few words will be encouraging for these young girls. And there is one woman, I saw the comment that she's watching on behalf of her her daughter who want to be a medical doctor. So my message to that beautiful girl: please don't get discouraged. Yes, Stella, don't get discouraged. Please encourage your daughter to take up, and we are here. We can be her mentors, and we will help her in how to go through this journey even better than us. Over to you, Anne.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bushai, and thank you for encouraging that mother as she encourages her daughter to get into this field of ours that, of course, has many challenges, but we have overcome. So we are evidence that you can overcome, and you can actually find a way to balance your life so that you're able to do your multiple roles as a woman in the home, as a sister, as a mother, and as a wife. Dr. Jen, I think now the honors falls to you to be. I don't know whether you already gave feedback and encouragement to the young ones, especially in view of your career, the number of years it has spanned, the different things you have actually been able to do, which are amazing. What advice do you have for the young ones, and what recommendations do you have for the institutions, the individuals who are involved in policy making when it comes to training? What are the things that you think should be done to make this path a little easier for those who come after us?
Thank you, Dr. Ann. And I want to say a big thank you and shout out to all the women on the panel and all the women in South Sudan and the South Sudanese women everywhere. Every little thing you do every day in making somebody's life better is a credit, and it's critical, because without that small thing, that person's life could have turned out in a different way. I also want to address Mr. Ben's question of my book. The title is From Start to Finish: How to Be Successful. The second edition is coming up. It should have been published last month, but it's going to be published at the end of this month, April. So the first edition is in Amazon. If you just type in my name, it will come up. And the second edition is going to come up. It's still from start to finish, but it's going to read second edition because there's some editing that has gone on in it. So that said, next month, May the 11th, is going to be 34 years or 35 years in healthcare from when I started in 1988. If somebody looks at me, would think like, you haven't worked that long. I should have been retired a long time ago, but I'm still in school. So that speaks to the strength and the power that a woman has. And all of you possess this power, and even our young girls possess this power. The power to work hard and make a change in the world, and make a change in a difference in a small place where you are. Start small and extend to help people around you and your community and your society. One thing that I do know, and Dr. Bushai said it, is that we all started in our different paths. There was no mentorship. There was no support and there was no role models. But I did see something that was very important to me was when I was in Omdurman Teaching Hospital, there were a lot of Arab girls that were doctors, a lot of them. And in the doctor's mess, the doctor's lounge, they didn't eat. يعني أكل اللي بيجيبوا لي الدكاترة ديل هم ما قاعدين بياكلوا. أكتر حاجة إحنا أكلنا أكل ده. So that was how we actually were able to sustain our life and complete the training because we had that free access of food that these doctors didn't eat. And so we ate those. And there were a lot of Arab girls who were doctors, and it was actually very impressive. Though South Sudan is still behind and the male dominance is still there, I do not want anybody to be discouraged about it. Why? Because if we leave it alone to the male, yes, they are doing their part, but it's not enough of them doing what we need. That's one. Number two, I also spoke about how I was doing pap smears every Wednesday and Friday. Is because women preferences is also very important. Sometimes a woman wants to speak to a woman to address some concerns and some issues that she has. Women cannot report domestic abuse or any kind of abuse related to the sexual issues in the house to a man because they feel they will not be protected by that man. So sometimes we need to be there to listen to these mothers, to listen to these women, and be able to support them and address their issues. So women going to these careers are very important. And I want the young people, it doesn't mean, when I say young, doesn't mean you have to be 18. Even if you're 40, you're still young. Whatever time you decide that you want to go to medical career, you should be able to do so if you have the passion. We are here, we can support you in terms of mentoring, in terms of guiding you which path is best and how you can overcome the challenges that are associated with each department or each specialty you choose, because there's a variety of women in most of those specialties. They can literally guide you and walk you through, said, this is what I did, this is how I studied, this is how I chose my specialty, and this place has the best training, and this place offers best support and mentorship. Most of you have already spoken about the scholarship issue. I don't need to increase anything to it. But one area that I have seen, I was in Juba last year during Ramadan. I went to Juba in April. I was trying to find Dr. Linda. I couldn't find her. But I did go around to some clinics. I sent my brother to get an ultrasound to check for his liver. And the results were very disappointing because they didn't have any right ultrasound machine. They didn't type in his name right. And I think they just produced a generic ultrasound report and said, oh, everything is normal. And that's it. There was no measurement of the liver, no measurements of the kidney, no measurements of anything in the abdomen. And I went to test for COVID twice before leaving Juba. So I went and seen the clinics, and some places I took somebody to an X-ray. So I went and saw those things. So I had a first encounter of some of the things that were there. So to those women and men working in Juba, I think you guys are doing the best you could, and I applaud you for that. I applaud you for that. Last week, somebody wrote something and said a doctor in Juba is paid $6 to $10 a month, and this pay is most of the time delayed after 6 months. That's not worth any money. If it's not the passion, I don't see doctors working in Juba. And I have to say, you guys are strong, and you're doing it with all the side works and the clinic and everything. Everything you do, make sure your passion is in it to help the people and make them feel better. And that is what will save you. Recently, a friend of mine told me a story. Her husband is a gynecologist in our state in Arizona. And one day he went to a neighborhood, Southern Phoenix, South Phoenix. When you hear South in US, you know who is in the South. So he goes there and somebody robs him and takes away his wallet literally at the bar. And then some guy jumps up and say, wait a minute, return his wallet. That guy delivered my baby. Return his wallet. And they returned his wallet back to him. And he left. He walked out safely. His wallet was given back. What saved him that day? Because of the good deed he had done, delivering the other person's baby. He saw his gang members took this doctor's wallet and he said, no, give it back. This guy delivered my baby. Those small acts actually make it worth for us going to work every day. In terms of schools, you can choose whatever school that you feel that you can go to. Of course, in South Sudan, there is limitations in the universities, but try not to go to some of those universities that end up not graduating you, not giving you the documents, not having proper clinical rotation places, not having proper experiences, because then you come on board, you do not have the proper training, you are not well equipped, it equals to another suffering to our people. So I don't know how I can add to the legislative, but having what do you call having guidelines. I have an undergrad in epidemiology. Having guidelines and research that help and point into better care is really great. And I would really like to see a lot of young people go into preventive care, making sure children are getting their vaccines, making sure adults are getting their vaccines, making sure pregnant mothers are getting their vaccine, making sure they are tested, making sure that once the newborn is born, they get all the newborn screenings that are necessary, making sure that chromosomal analysis are done, making sure that preventive diseases that are going to occur in new childborns are being addressed. If those preventive issues are being addressed, it is going to give a lot of comfort zone to the new doctors to know which areas do I need to venture in. And for the dentists, it is really that crucial. In the US, we still have to deal with people coming from third world countries that have had rheumatic heart fevers and disease when they were young. They have to get preventive medications before any procedure, because those bacteria sitting there, like Streptococcus viridans, they can cause a heart failure, they can cause heart disease, they can kill people, and they can cause endocarditis, a lot of issues. They are very, very important. Most of the bacteria go through our mouth. And if the dentist takes care of them every 6 months or once in a year, you get your teeth cleaned, you get it checked, you are likely not to transport those diseases into your body and cause further problems. So I know our culture is different, but we need to work through those challenges. I am proud of all of you addressing those challenges day and night. I can't imagine, but I'm coming back to Juba soon. Those who are in Juba, I'm going to knock your offices again, and I will make sure to find you again, Dr. Linda. I'm coming soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jane, for that. Very encouraging. And all of your journeys, all of our panelists are amazing journeys, and I'm sure those who have listened to you are inspired, despite the challenges that we've mentioned. I'm sure that quite a number of people right now are thinking about walking the same path each and every one of you has walked, and overcoming and ending up contributing to society and touching the lives of people, whether it's in preventative care or in curative care, whether it's in pharmacy, in dentistry, in nursing, in various specialities as doctors. We know that you can make a difference in the lives of many. And if it is your desire and your passion to take a step into this profession, and speaking more on to the females and the young ladies who are watching now. You can do this, and you can see all these ladies on the screen are evidence that you can make it, and you can make it to the very top. So I want to once again thank our audience for joining us. And I want to thank each and every panelist, specifically Dr. Idioro, Dr. Jane, Dr. Bushai, Dr. Ajak, and Dr. Linda for joining us today and for taking your time. I'm sorry we went past the allotted time limit, but this was so interesting and so inspiring that I felt that it was important to allow each and every one of you to just give a word so that those who come after us also have evidence of the things that you've said and are able to be inspired by some of the things that you've said. And thank you so much, Aisha, for being behind the screen, the technical support. And thank you guys for continuing even when I disappeared from the screen. That was unprecedented. But thank you so much. And I'm so grateful. And we hope to have you all again on different discussions on this platform, on the South Sudanese Women Intellectuals Forum. And we hope to be discussing many more issues, including health-related issues, where we'll get a little bit more technical. But we felt it was important for each and every one of these doctors to give their personal journey. And hopefully we will also have a part 2 with those of you who may want to participate and have not participated. So thank you, Dr. Idioro. Thank you, Dr. Jane. Thank you, Dr. Bushai. And thank you, Dr. Ajak and Dr. Linda for joining us today. We are so appreciative and so honored to have had you on this platform. And thank you to the audience for participating and for joining. Until next time, for our next discussion, we say bye from the South Sudanese Women Intellectuals Forum and from South Sudanese female doctors around the world. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.